Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Kenil Gale. After over a year of negotiations, the Police Federation has signed a wage agreement with the government. The signing took place today at the Ministry of Finance. Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Arlene McBean, says the Federation is comfortable with the package. However, she hopes that provisions will be made in the new Police Act to make the negotiation process easier.
We are quite comfortable signing this package on behalf of the hard-working rank-and-file members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and we want to see some regulatory and legislative framework put in place for the police negotiations going forward. And I hope that in the new Police Service Act, there would be some recognition of what it means for the police to be classified separately and uniquely in any negotiation process, so we will not experience this long battle.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark agreed with Corporal McBean that the wage negotiation process should change to mirror that of other countries.
We should graduate to what exists in other countries where there is a commission that is representative and consists of persons who can understand and represent the interest of all sides, and the commission reviews data, reviews information and submissions, and makes a recommendation to the government that the government abides by. That to me would be more consistent with the respect that we want to afford to members of the security force.
In the meantime, the finance minister said his ministry has reached wage agreements with 91% of the public sector.
We are particularly pleased that we are now at 91% of the public sector is now covered by agreements that cover 4 years to 2021. And in particular today, in commemorating the agreement with the police force, is recognizing the indispensable role that the rank-and-file members of the Jamaica Police Force play in our lives.
JLP and PNP councillors in the St. James Municipal Corporation were locked in a heated argument yesterday at their final municipal meeting for the year. The JLP minority bashed their PNP colleagues over the position taken by the party to not support a further extension of the state of emergency in that parish. Sajana Small tells us more.
Mayor of Montego Bay Homer Davis argued that the decision of the PNP councillors to not support the continuation of the state of emergency is spineless.
When I see our 4 minority councillors in this council issued a press release, I have been thinking about it, and I must be quite honest with you. I am, to say disappointed, I'll put it mildly. I would say they are weak, they are spineless.
He acknowledged that the state of emergency cannot continue indefinitely, but it's not time yet for it to end in St. James.
This is your parish of St. James. Mount Salem was the first area to be singled out. And I've heard comments, boy, since this thing, it should continue in perpetuity. We all know it can't. But I still think that the patient St. James is still in the operating theatre.
However, People's National Party councillor for the Mount Salem division, Kerry Thomas, said the council should not ignore the human rights abuse that have occurred under the state of emergency.
Sometimes when you listen to the stories of some of the people who came out from under there, when you listen to some of them, Mr. Chairman, and the feedback you get from some of them, Mr. Chairman, you are going to say that there are many of them out there in abject fear, because there are so many innocent people who were picked up, and I understand why, and how many of them had lost jobs because they were detained and could not report to work.
He said councillors should also bear in mind that a state of emergency is meant to be a temporary solution.
At the same time, we have to be very careful the line we cross or the decisions we take. A state of emergency, Mr. Chairman, is not meant to last for a year in any country, not at civil war. And as such, Mr. Chairman, we are saying to you, Mr. Chairman, that in this modern time, we need to say, and as we are saying, Mr. Chairman, we support the police, we support the soldiers, we support enhanced security measures, and we are saying to you, secure the people of St. James, secure the people of Jamaica, but you don't need to do it under a state of emergency.
2 minutes up now, Council. Have a seat.
For BATV News, I'm Shoshana Small.
Meanwhile, the debate on whether the states of public emergency across the island should have been extended continued in the Senate this morning. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
Government Senator Don Webby closed the final sitting of the Upper House with his contribution to the State of the Nation debate. And as expected, the discontinuation of the states of emergency was a feature of his presentation.
We're not experts around the table, and I don't think any politician understands crime like Major Rockmead or Major Anderson. And if they're asking for an extension, how could we turn it down? How could we turn it down?
He argued that even the private sector, including the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, was disappointed in the PMP's vote. He pointed out that there was a noticeable drop in the country's crime rate because of the states of emergency.
Mr. President, my feeling of disappointment is shared by others, including the business community, and it is reflected in the joint press release. It is reflected in a joint press release issued by the PSOJ, the JMEA, and the JCC. And I think even if you look at the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, indicated that it does not support the removal of the SOE without a suitable replacement. The mayor of Montego Bay was quite articulate in saying, what a dark day. What a dark day.
But opposition Senator K.D. Knight argued that the presence of the states of emergency should not be a deterrent to crime. He explained that while the states of emergency will be lifted, the security forces can still stay in the areas.
It is necessary to keep the security forces in place, and the removal of the state of emergency does not mean that one person, not one security officer, needs to be removed. If it is necessary, curfew, cordon, search, arrest. And so don't look for excuses for ineptitude.
The states of emergency in sections of the corporate area will end in less than 3 weeks on January 7, and the one in St. Catherine North ends on January 2 and January 31 in St. James. For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
In the meantime, the Senate has passed amendments to the Income Tax Act 2018. The changes will see the removal of the exemption previously provided for the general insurance companies, insurance brokers, and agents from the 15% withholding tax on outgoing premiums. Leader of Government Business, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, says the purpose of this was to mitigate the risk of tax evasion, as investigations revealed that several businesses disguising themselves as insurance companies may be diverting profits into premiums.
As part of the 2017-18 revenue measures approved, it was determined that these exemptions should be reconsidered and that the measure should be simplified and streamlined to be applied as a strict statutory withholding of tax on the payments of insurance premiums made by resident companies to non-residents. And the tax would now therefore be charged similar to other payments under Section 40 of the Income Tax Act, such as fees and management for management and technical services. So the tax rate on outgoing insurance premiums remained at 15%. It was not changed.
The amendments seek to indemnify the government, who is believed to have acted in good faith when the legislation was passed a year ago.
It also seeks to validate as lawful the good faith collection of withholding tax from the 30th of December 2017 and to indemnify such collection and related acts, of course, done in good faith.
And when you come back, the NSWMA needs your help to make Christmas garbage collection easier. This and more after the break. Welcome back. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, Audley Gordon, is calling on the public to properly containerize their garbage, especially during the Christmas period. The NSWMA head says they actively try to visit every community. However, when they do arrive, they spend hours cleaning up before collecting. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
Mr. Gordon says the NSWMA cannot regulate solid waste by itself. He explains that the average time for garbage collection is about 5 minutes, but now garbage collection takes up to 90 minutes because residents don't properly containerize their garbage, forcing the collectors to bag and clean up their waste.
And so when we have a truck that is stuck at a location for an hour and a half, cleaning up what should have been properly prepared, bagged, and awaiting their arrival, that truck, when detained, deprives another community of pickup. But it also wastes resource because we have to keep that truck engine on using gas oil because the compactor won't work if the truck is turned off.
He says improper garbage disposal continues to be a challenge for the NSWMA. Not only is it bad for the environment, but it also poses health risks.
There's hardly any gully or waterway that's not affected. Once there's a settlement on the bank or nearby, it is used as a disposal site. We believe that that behavior is not only bad for the environment and sightly, but it is contributing to the disease outbreak.
He adds that during the Christmas period, there is always an excess amount of garbage. That is why he's calling on the public to properly dispose of their garbage to prevent rat infestations.
Sometimes you go to clean these gullies, the size rats you see in there, you have to be brave. You see? But it's we feed the rats. When we have meat cuttings and when we have leftover food and we just throw it out because somehow we can't be bothered to just put it in a plastic bag or something or just keep it frozen until the truck arrives. We throw it out. We're feeding the rats.
For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
Political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang is echoing calls for Prime Minister Andrew Holness to appoint a new energy minister. The Prime Minister assumed the responsibility of the portfolio following the resignation of Dr. Andrew Wheatley in July. Mr. Chang was a guest on BATV's business discussion program On Point last evening. Here's more.
Dr. Wheatley resigned in July after several weeks of allegations of nepotism and cronyism at the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. Since then, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has been overseeing the energy portfolio. But Mr. Chang says the Prime Minister does not have the time to effectively manage it.
Mr. Holness, he has to name a minister. He doesn't have the time to go.
I agree.
He clearly needs to turn over every stone, weed out who needs to weed out, fire turf out. How can he possibly have the time? He's been traveling 1 week. He has a million things on his plate.
Mr. Chang says the lack of a minister for the energy portfolio will also feed into a lack of accountability culture.
Give us somebody where the buck can stop and we can start asking that person, what are you going to do? The only logical conclusion is a grand conspiracy to defraud the public. That's the only logic. If already are there and none of you are taking responsibility and public money is being wasted, you must be in a conspiracy. If any of them felt something was wrong, they would blow the whistle and say, hold on, something is wrong here. Go to the public, the press, or the Prime Minister or somebody. But nobody went to higher authority and said, something here is wrong, we need to stop it. $5 billion later, that's only 5 years.
He says the forensic audit that the Prime Minister had ordered into Petrojam is not enough action.
We've had forensic audits in the past with corruption and nothing has come to fruition. Many times they use these things and when it comes, nothing, the public doesn't get anymore. Sometimes it does, I remember like Operation Pride, sometimes it doesn't. But my main thing is he needs to start a new narrative. Who is going to be the new minister?
And the political commentator also wants the pricing mechanism being used by Petrojam to be made public.
When politicians hide something from the public, it is never to the public's good. Clearly, it is they are able to manipulate it for their benefit. Or why wouldn't they reveal it to the public? That's a big question. Why have successive administrations, both PNP and JLP, it's not a party issue, why are they reluctant to reveal the full details of this pricing mechanism to the public? There can only be one conclusion.
For BATV News, I'm Tashana Small.
The Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries have jointly opened an Agri-Linkage Exchange Center. The center is located at the Rural Agricultural Development Authority's office in St. Andrew on Old Hope Road. The goal of the center is to boost Jamaica's gross domestic product and to increase the consumption of local produce by tourists. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett says the center is expected to register and link more farmers directly with buyers in the hotel industry while building out the supply side of the tourism sector in the long run. He says the center will also help to satisfy the increase in demand from tourists for local produce during their visits. Meanwhile, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw says the opening of the center shows that the government is committed to offering support to farmers and wants to help them make a direct connection with purchasers with the use of technology. And stay with us, regional and international stories are up next. Welcome back. Time now for regional and international news. Managers and supervisors at the Grand Lucayan Hotel in the Bahamas plan to reject the severance packages they're being offered. The union representing the workers say their members are being shortchanged. Here's our News' Gillian Gray with the details.
Unreasonable and inhumane is how President of the Bahamas Hotel Managerial Association, Obi Ferguson, described voluntary separation packages. He made it clear the offer will not be accepted by his members.
I have communicated with my members today in that hotel, and they have given the assurance that they're going to stand firm and receive what they're legally entitled to.
90 managers at the resort have applied for separation packages. Earlier this week, Lucayan Renewal Holdings Chairman Michael Scott said their final offer is fair and reasonable, taking the position that staff members must take it or return to work. However, Ferguson asserted that bullish stance will not be accepted, lamenting the fact that the board's refusal to pay the 90 managers for the full number of years they've worked will significantly reduce their payouts.
If you are entitled to say $20,000, the effect of what he's doing is taking away pretty much $8,000–9,000 from the package. That to me is totally unreasonable, because the 6 weeks that he's taking off from someone who's been employed for 18 years. That works to about roughly 26 weeks.
The union president said he sent a letter to Scott yesterday, again expressing their concerns and questioning how Lucayan Renewal came up with the final figures it is offering. He pressed the board to honor their agreement and included in that letter a full breakdown of what each employee is owed, as well as examples of former VSEP procedures. Ferguson added that the union is not asking for anything unreasonable and said their $4.2 million request is actually a reduced figure.
We reduce it near to $1 million in terms of trying to reach an arrangement, having regard for the state of the economy and everything else. We decided that we would move to show good faith, but for some reason he doesn't want to, and he isn't showing us how he arrived at even the $2 million, the $2.7 million, or the $3.4, $3.3 million. We have no evidence from him other than a letter, and he says, this is all I have. Well, you know, I mean, Hutchison Wampu was the employer. Maybe they should have Hutchison pay.
Mindful that other unions are lobbying for pay increases and better benefits from government, Ferguson said they would entertain a payment plan if one is offered.
Now, when asked about the matter yesterday, the Deputy Prime Minister said he expects those payouts to be complete by Christmas. Reporting for our News, I'm Gillian Gray.
European Union leaders are preparing for a no-deal Brexit scenario as there are still some uncertainties surrounding the backstop clause in the current agreement. Here's more.
What a difference a night makes. First, the UK Prime Minister arrived in Brussels seeking help to win over skeptics back home over the Brexit deal, but then left with little to show for her trip. Arriving for the second day of the summit, the Prime Minister of Luxembourg was quite clear in rejecting any changes to the deal. No, there won't be any renegotiations. That's out of the question. Basta. We have negotiated. All we can do now is offer clarifications in case they need it, but that's it. May had asked for assurances that the so-called Northern Irish backstop would be temporary. Council President Tusk said it was an insurance policy, adding,
the European Council also underlines that if the backstop were nevertheless to be triggered, it would apply temporarily unless and until it is superseded by a subsequent agreement that ensures that a hard border is avoided.
EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said the EU will step up preparations for a no-deal scenario, something echoed by other leaders in Brussels. Here you have Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel. Objectively speaking, what we heard yesterday was not particularly reassuring on the ability of Great Britain to honor its engagement, which was agreed upon, and we are going to start looking into all possible outcomes, including a no-deal scenario. How all this is going to play out is anybody's guess at this point.
Zimbabweans who are struggling to get by are hoping for some answers from the ruling ZANU-PF party, which is holding its first annual conference since the army deposed Robert Mugabe. The country is struggling with shortages and price increases, and Mugabe's successor is under growing pressure to turn the economy around. Al Jazeera's Haru Mutasa reports from the capital, Harare.
Some people here say Zimbabwe has become the 10th province of neighboring South Africa. Inside this trailer, brought across the border, are thousands of dollars worth of products Zimbabweans either can't find in shops or are too expensive.
It's better to buy in South Africa than to buy here in Zimbabwe, and prices as well. They are so good. You can afford them. Unlike here in Zimbabwe, they are so expensive. So it's better for me to go and buy my groceries and the clothes for my kids there in South Africa than to buy here in Zimbabwe because I can't afford.
It's another sign Zimbabwe's economy is in trouble. People who can't get foreign currency because of cash shortages shop in local stores where prices have more than tripled in recent weeks. Fuel is also in short supply, another frustration for struggling Zimbabweans. A shortage of essential drugs and equipment in public hospitals has crippled the health sector. Some junior doctors are on strike over pay and working conditions.
If you visit any hospital right now, nothing is happening. Doctors are not there. Doctors are waiting for the employer to address the grievances affecting the doctors and the patients.
The ruling party ZANU-PF is holding its annual conference in Esigodini, where the economy is not the only topic on the agenda. Reports of infighting within the leadership are again being heard on the first anniversary of the ousting of veteran leader Robert Mugabe.
The demon of factionalism continues to haunt ZANU-PF, and so I think there will also be discussions to that effect. They will probably discuss the need for unity within the party, the need for everyone to rally behind the current president of the party, Emmerson Mnangagwa.
His biggest challenge is the economy. The president keeps saying the country is open for business, but other Zimbabweans want to know how and when he plans to turn things around. Haru Matasa, Al Jazeera, Harare.
Stay with us. Talking Stocks comes up next. Welcome back. Time now for Talking Stocks. 54 stocks traded today, of which 27 advanced, 22 declined, and 5 traded firm. The main JC index advanced by 2,891 points to close at over 376,000 points. The junior index advanced by 8 points to close at over 3,000 points. 4.2 million units traded today, valued at over $169 million on the Jamaican dollar market. While on the US dollar market, more than 90,000 units traded, valued at over 50,000 US dollars. NCB Financial Group, with over 743,000 units trading, accounted for 17% of market volume. Sagicor Real Estate X Fund, with over 462,000 units trading, was second, and Sagicor Group, with more than 4,000 units trading, was third, making up 10% of the market volume, which crossed the floor. The main advancers were Jamaica Stock Exchange, up $1.17 to close at $10.05, followed by SSL Venture Capital, up 18 cents to close at $2, and JMMB Group 7.5% Jamaican dollar preference shares, up 10 cents to close at $1.16. The main decliners were Alaska Financial Services, down 60 cents to close at $4.30, followed by G West Corporation, down 17 cents to close at $1.27. While Honeybun went down 27 cents to close at $3.50. In foreign exchange trading, the Jamaican dollar gained on all three major trading partners today. The US dollar ended the day selling for $129.03, losing 37 cents to the Jamaican dollar. The Canadian dollar sold for $96.95 on average, losing 6 cents to the Jamaican dollar, while the British pound closed the day selling at $159.12, losing $1.99 to the Jamaican. And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of our top story. After over a year of negotiations, the Police Federation has signed a wage agreement with the government. The signing took place today at the Ministry of Finance. Thanks for watching. For more content, please go visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Kenil Gale. Have a great weekend.